Bonjour and hello, I'm James, and I'll be your host for this season of the Everyday Forum podcast, an original Stratfest at Home podcast showcasing a sampling of the thought-provoking discussions from the Stratford Festival's 2024 Meighen Forum. The Stratford Festival's Meighen Forum is a festival within the festival, designed to enhance and contextualize the performances in the main Stratford Festival season through compelling discussions, small-scale, exciting performances, and engaging multi-sensory events and workshops. Enjoy!
Don't applaud for me. I'm not the big deal here. Good morning, beautiful people. Hi there. My name is Ari Weinberg. I'm the casting director here at the Stratford Festival. We're gathered here this morning to celebrate drag excellence on this land and its waterways that belong to the ancestral guardians of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Wendat, and the Adirondack. Awesome. Okay, so now on to the main event, our stars. First off, I want to call onto the stage someone who has spent 9 seasons at the Stratford Festival, the director of last season's incredible production of Rent, and this season's fabulous production of La Cage aux Folles, and also a Canadian Screen Award winner for the role of Pree on the sci-fi series Killjoys, Thom Allison. Hi, Tom. Take a seat.
You don't mind.
Put a little more mascara on. Awesome. And now, okay, a true queen of the North with a bio as long as her legs. I encourage you to go online and read it. An international drag superstar and my personal favorite drag queen from Canada's Drag Race, the one and only Lemon!
Wow. Hey, you guys.
Well, hi.
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so happy to be here. I feel I've never looked more beautiful.
We are so thrilled for you to be here and have this experience with you. To start us off, as you're sort of doing your thing, where did you grow up? Where, parents, family, like a bit of your background.
Well, I am first generation Canadian, so both my parents immigrated here. My dad is from Portugal, and my mom is from Scotland, which is kind of a random mix. They met at a roller derby.
That's more random than the mix.
Even crazier. My dad always tells the story by saying, I met your mom and she was flat on her back with her legs up in her air. I'm like, absolutely classless. But yeah, so they met, and my mom was originally just here to be a nanny, but then fell in love, and she was like, okay, I'll stay in Canada. And then she had 2 lovely children, and I was brought back to a house in Pickering, and guess what? Still live in the same house.
You're kidding.
Yeah, no, it's been nice. I have lived lots of other places,
yes.
But I keep reading magazines about how to get rich, and they're like, live with your parents. And so that's what I'm trying to do until I'm rich, which who knows how long it's gonna be. But I'm happy to be there, and I feel like, living in big cities is so nice, but there is something just nice about like a community and like being in a smaller town and knowing your neighbors and being able to like say hello, and like I know the dogs in the neighborhood, so when I walk my dog, it's like, oh my God, your friend,
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's nice. I definitely think I'm a big city person.
Right.
But I don't mind not being in a big city. So
Well, I'm sure with the work you get to branch out, as it were.
I travel.
Yeah.
I travel. I've been out and about.
So you started as a dancer.
I did. So I was a competitive dancer growing up. I started because Period. I started because I had an older cousin and she was in dance, and I went to a recital and I was so obsessed. I was like, oh my God, I need sparkly costumes like that. And if this is the only way to get them, then I'll do it. So I joined hip hop and quickly found out that the boys actually don't get sparkly costumes. But luckily I made my way there.
You sparkled eventually.
Exactly.
So the dance, though, took you to the Alvin Ailey Company in New York.
Yes.
Could you tell us about how that happened and what that experience was?
Well, I wasn't sure. In the arts, like, a lot of people don't go to a post-secondary school. So I was interested in going, but I was like, I only want to go if it's something that like really feels kind of necessary. Otherwise, like, I could just, start auditioning right away and use the youth factor, which like is great in theater. But I realized that like I wanted the extra training and like I wanted more time to like kind of get myself to be at the level that I wanted to be at, which I'm a Virgo and a perfectionist, so it was a high level.
Yeah.
But so I auditioned for Ryerson. I don't think it's called that anymore.
It's Toronto.
So true. You all know what I was talking about.
Yes. TMU, they call it TMU.
So I auditioned for TMU. And I was accepted there, but I was like, if I did go there, I would have had to stay at home the whole time.
Right.
And I really wanted to move away. So I auditioned for the Juilliard School, got cut after ballet. And then I auditioned for, I have a funny story about that, but it's a long one and it's unnecessary. But Then I went to the Ailey auditions were the same weekend, and I didn't actually have like a thing, but I just showed up. And I was like, oh, I'm auditioning. And they're like, your name's not on the list. I was like, oh, that's so weird.
Nice.
I didn't know how that could have happened. Maybe I'll just take class. And they were like, okay. Anyway, so I auditioned for the scholarship program there and was lucky enough to get in. I'm pretty sure it's because I wore short shorts to the audition. But everyone else had on their lovely little tights. I had my gams out. I was like, oh, you're going to accept me either way, honey. And and they did.
Amazing. Was that your first introduction to life in New York?
It was. I moved to New York on my 19th birthday. So I was very young. It was my first time like really being away from home, but it was necessary. Like, I feel like, I'm lucky that I had like supportive, parents that were very involved with everything I did. But at the same time, it's like when you are a queer person, I feel like you do need to just like learn how to make your own decisions and like learn what you think the world should look like and how you can get it there. Because, your parents can only teach you so much. It's like they can only teach you everything they know, which is luckily in my case a lot, but it's not everything. And I wanted to have those experiences and those thoughts and that like adulthood on my own. So moving away was like necessary for me for sure.
Right. So then, here we go. What took you to drag? How did you get? What's that path?
So I was dating a boy.
Wait, what?
I was dating this boy, and he was a musical theater actor, and he got cast in Kinky Boots on Broadway. Oh. Lovely. And so when he was like getting ready for the show, they send you like a couple of makeup charts, and they say like, this is what your makeup has to look like. Practice. So basically they sent him all these charts and he was like, okay, well, I have to practice this. Like, do you want to do it with me? And I was like, yeah, because makeup takes like sometimes 3 hours. Actually, need to move faster.
Go ahead, you pace.
Makeup takes a long time. So he was like, well, instead of me just sitting there for 3 hours, like, why don't we at least turn this into an activity we could do together? So I was like, sure, why not arts and crafts? I have no interest in doing drag, but sure. So I was like, okay, I'll do it with you. And so that was kind of how I started like learning how to do drag makeup. And then after his stint in Kinky Boots, he was in Something Rotten. This bottom's gonna be on top.
Appearing till the end of October.
So he was in that on tour, and he broke up with me while he was on tour. Oh. Everyone clap for that. And me being a spiteful little bitch, I was like, okay, what's a really good time to start drag? is when he's away, so that he's gonna like forever be like, oh, I missed it. So
Nice.
I really did drag the first time just fully out of spite.
Spite drag. Listen, the spite drag narrative. It's solid.
I had no interest in being a drag queen at all. I was already in a ballet company, which is what I had dreamed of being in since I was a little kid. So it was like to have the kind of resume I had, like I was like, oh, well, I don't need drag is what I thought at the time. So I just kind of had this like, why would I do that if I'm already doing my dream job, you know?
Right.
So I did it just to piss him off. And it worked.
I was going to say, well done.
And it worked.
So then, how did you then? Did it go so well the first time, or did you know immediately?
I think it was one of those things where, like, when I was a dancer, like, I had always loved dance and like put a lot of work into it and effort and all that. But at the same time, I feel like I would see what other people were doing and think like, you guys are doing too much. Like, it's not that serious. And then, like, when I started drag, I was doing too much. And I was like, oh, wait, like, that's just not what I wanted to be doing.
Right.
Like, I just didn't want to be a dancer. I just wanted to be a drag queen this whole time. And I had no idea, you know? So it was like, I thought that I had found, like, the one passion that I was going to be gifted from the universe, and realized that, like, dance for me was a pathway into, like, this world. Because
Right.
I do feel like drag is like what I was born to do. Like, I just feel, you know, so connected to myself when I'm Lemon, and I just feel like that is something that really, I don't know, like, it's just a gift to be able to find something that you really love and be able to like do it. And you know, when I was a little kid, I used to play dress up all the time, and I was like, how can I turn this into a career? God, I'm so good at dress up. And and I figured it out.
Amazing. Keep painting.
Yeah, I can't find any of my brushes.
Oh no. Do you need a moment?
No.
All right. So would you tell us then? We started talking about this in our little room over there. What's the draw of drag? What's the feeling of drag? What is it that it gives you when you are transformed?
I think it's just like, you know, as a dancer, I feel like a lot of what I was asked to do was to like convey emotions that I didn't necessarily always feel. So it was like, you know, in a lot of art, like, we are kind of taught that, like, if it doesn't make you feel sad or like deeply, you know, hurt, that it's not as valuable as something that can like just make you laugh.
Right.
You know, I feel like that's something that, like, you know, the epitome of theater is like drama and making you cry and stuff. But I'm like, it's actually really hard to make people laugh too. Like, that's something that should be cherished as well. And I remember whenever I got the chance as a dancer to do something funny or silly, I was always the one to be like, oh my God, let's do it. Because it was just like, you know, it's one thing to leave a whole audience and everyone's sobbing and they're all like, that was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. It's like, yeah, that feels great. But it's a whole nother thing to have a bunch of people come up to you with like the most incredible joy on their faces. And drag was that for me. Like, drag was just so fun, and drag is just like pure entertainment. And like, you know, one of the very first times I ever did drag was at like a little shitty bar, and there was 10 people there, and this woman came up to me afterwards, and she was like in tears, sobbing her eyes out, and it was a really fun show. She just came up to me. I was like, bitch, no. It was a really nice show, but she like came up to me and she was like, you are exactly like my best friend who just passed away a couple days ago. And she was like, and I haven't been able to not think about him for the past like 3 weeks or however long it had been. She was like, I haven't been able to not think about him every minute. And she's like, and every time I hear a joke, she's like, I want to cry. Because it's like, oh, he would have loved that. And she's like, and for the first time, she's like, I sat for an hour and a half and didn't think about him at all because I was so happy and having such a good time with you. And she's like, and I knew at that moment, she was like, that's what he would have wanted, is to just like let go of it all and have a good time. So it's like, I don't know, as much as it's like not serious and not like, you know, emotional, yeah. Drag is very emotional to me because it's like, it's joy and it's laughter and it's like, it's just fun.
Well, and that's healing.
And it's healing. Yeah. It's good. Like you know, obviously every piece of theater, every dance, like it has a different intention, but it's like the intention of drag is to make you for an hour and a half or 2 hours just be like, this is crazy. Like, that's all you want. So it's like, I just felt like so divinely capable of that.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know, all I've ever wanted to be is like class clown, you know? So it made sense to me to like have a job where that's what I do.
Right. Laughter and the dress up.
Yeah,
Walking
laughter
together.
and dress up and, you know, flirting.
Yeah.
It's like, it's everything.
That's amazing. So then what? And so this was in New York, your first time in drag?
Yes, this
Right.
was in New York. I never actually did drag in Canada before being on Canada's Drag Race.
Ah, wow.
Which the girls did not like. Just by the way.
Noted.
But it wasn't my choice. It was just
Sure.
how, you know, things, how it played out.
Yeah.
You know, I was in New York on my OPT, which is like a visa thing, which stands for optional practical training, which essentially after you complete your degree, you get a year of work study to basically prove to the government that it's like, hey, it's worth it. Give me a visa.
Yeah.
And if you don't work in that year, like you won't get a visa because then they're like, you didn't work.
Right.
We tried.
We gave you the chance.
You failed. No. So I left my company that I was in a few months into the OPT, which was probably a bad idea for like getting a dance visa.
Right.
But I just was like kind of taking off in drag and was really finding my stride and like just made more sense to me to be doing drag. Also, I did like a full Nutcracker season.
Oh.
And it was the most intense thing in the world. And my director hated me because I was the question girl. Why are we doing that?
And he didn't like that? I don't
Hey.
understand. Yeah.
This kind of feels like a waste of time. No.
The magic words. Yes.
Yeah, I'm like, why didn't he like me? No. But anyways, after this season of months of rehearsals, blah, 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 I was an apprentice, so no pay, whatever.
Sure.
Then he hands me a check across the table after all the shows for $250. And I was like, I just did a drag show last night and made this just in single dollars from audience members.
Right.
So I was like, this is not going to be my journey in this life. You know?
Yes.
I just was like, I always, growing up, heard like, you're going to be a starving artist if you choose dance. And I was like, no, I'm going to make it. And then I made it and I was like, oh, they were right. No.
Right. Yeah.
You have no choice. Like it doesn't matter how, you know, how hard you work or how good you are. It's like you really have to love your art or it's not worth it.
Right.
And I was like, I don't know that I love this anymore. Like my body's changing and I'm not having a good time and I'm getting older and like they want dancers who are freshly 18 and can kick themselves in the face and I was not her.
Right.
So I just was like, you know, after that competition I did, the drag show that I did, the first time I just had a moment of being like, I just love doing this. I'm going to do it again. And I was like, and I'll keep doing it again until I don't love it anymore. And now it's been like 5 years.
Oh, wow. Which is actually not that long, really.
It's really not, no. But I feel like the dance training I had really like lends itself to this. I mean, I feel like any good like artistic training lends itself to like just being a good human in the world because you learn responsibility and you learn like managing yourself and you learn like taking on a role and playing it. Do you know what I mean? So it's like I feel without dance I would be a mess of a human being, but like I'm very thankful that I had dance teachers that would never let that happen. Right. They were Russian.
Which explains a lot. Efficient. Nothing else. No big comment. Anyone who's Russian in the house, they're great dance teachers.
Oh yeah,
it's a known
I'd
thing.
go back to you,
Yeah.
Vlad. I love you.
So then, how long was it between when you started drag to when you got to Drag Race?
It was only like a year.
Oh wow!
It was a very, very quick turnaround. I will say, I feel like a lot of the reason I got on the show was because I was a New York girl, though.
Sure.
Because, you know, we also have to acknowledge that like Drag Race isn't the epitome of drag.
Right.
Like, Drag Race is a reality television show, not a drag competition. And it's like, that's okay. You're allowed to just like them for being reality personalities. Like, that's okay.
Right.
But I'm like, you know, is it the 12 best drag queens in the world compete? Like, no, it's not. There are some of the best drag queens I know in the world that have been on Drag Race, but it doesn't necessarily always mean that. And I do think that I was a storyline moment. I was the New York girl there to shake things up, and I did.
Which leads us into, tell us about drag. So what was the audition like? And then let's go into the experience of it.
Yeah, so
The first one, we'll go into both of them, but the first one, yeah.
Every Drag Race audition is like kind of a video submission.
Mm-hmm.
They make you do like a little like essay form. This is public knowledge because if you were to audition, you would see this. So they make you fill out like a kind of an essay format of questions of, you know, why do you do drag? What do you love about drag? What's different about you? What's your drag that's different than other people? So you kind of have to establish who you are in that first moment. And if you can get past that, then they make you do a little video and it's like showing off some of your runway looks and like, you know, you have to do a fake mini snatch game and answer some snatch game questions. And for ours, we had to film a whole like scene, like an acting scene.
Oh.
Which apparently no one else had to do that. So I was like asking my American friends, being like, oh my God, and that scene. And they were like, girl, what? I'm like, oh. So Canada's Drag Race was doing too much. Good to know.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, it's like, it's just a real audition. It's like, but I love auditions. Like since I was growing up, I've always thought auditions were so fun because I'm like, even if you don't book, it's like still just so fun to be like, look at me. You know what I mean? Like that's how I always just thought of it, was like going in and just being like, you guys want this? And then them being like, no, actually. But it's like, you're still kind of like, well, maybe next time you will. Like, I don't know. It's like one of the creepy men who come up to you at the club and just will not give up. It's like at a certain point, you just kind of have to be like, thank you. Like, that's a nice compliment.
Right. Yeah, you're worth it.
Like, he really wants this. He's not
still
giving
got it.
up.
He still got it. Catnip. So then when you got the show, what was that experience like?
It was kind of crazy because I did think when they said, you know, Canada's Drag Race was happening, I had this moment of being like, I'm getting on that. So I was like, from the moment it was announced, I was like, I'll be on that show. And I know that's crazy and delusional, but I just was like, they have to have me. I'm the New York girl. They're going to want the drama. And every season of RuPaul's Drag Race, the American show, there's always a New York girl. And the whole room's always like, New York drag. So I was like, they're going to want that because it's like a Drag Race staple.
Yeah.
So I was like, if they can get the New York girl where everyone's going to be like, hey, we hate the New York girl. I was like, they're going to do it. And lo and behold... I should have been a casting director because I knew it. But yeah, it was exciting. It was scary because I was so broke at the time. At the time, it was scary because I like got the call and I was so excited and I hang up the call and I like went to check my bank account and my bank had literally $20 and I just like looked at my phone like, okay. So, and then it was like that moment of like, okay, well now I have to figure out how I'm gonna like get 1,000 runway looks together.
Right.
And they want challenge looks too. And they say, bring a bunch of extra stuff as well. I'm like, girl, I don't have any extra stuff. But yeah, other than the money part of it, it was mostly just like pure excitement. And just, I don't know, like I feel like Drag Race is such a big part of like queer culture at this point. Mm-hmm. Like you can't go to a gay bar without someone bringing up Drag Race and like, oh my God, did you watch the episode? It's like, it's just ingrained in the queer experience, at least in my experience of the world. And so I loved Drag Race. I was a huge fan. I used to watch every episode, whatever. So it was like to be cast and know like I'm going to be on it was really was really crazy because it's like, oh, like I get to be one of the girls that I'm obsessed with. And now there's girls who are like, I'm obsessed with you. And I'm like, that's crazy because I'm just a girl.
Right, but a famous girl now.
I guess so. I always say I'm gay-miss, though. Like, I'm not really... I'm not famous to, like, the point where it's like I can't go grocery shopping.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like I can go grocery shopping and no one knows I am. They do stare at me because I have no eyebrows. But it's not like a we know who you are stare. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it's like if I go to a gay bar, that's when it's like, oh, I'm famous.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Because everyone wants, especially after a tequila soda, everyone wants a photo and a full in-depth conversation. And I love it. I'll give it to them.
You're gay for it.
Yo, I'll chat. Oh,
Well, okay, so
me
then-
chatting?
Oh, it's fantastic. So, God, what was the experience like? Like, what is the actual experience of being on the show? It's like this weekly thing, but are you there for how many weeks? How many weeks were you there? What's involved in an episode?
I think generally it takes like around a month to film like a season.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less.
Right.
COVID's kind of made it a little longer, but
Yeah.
at the time where I filmed, it wasn't like that. So yeah, I loved it. It felt like going away to a camp and then like everyone got to watch what you did at camp. So it's like, you know, when you like, it's been a while since I went to camp, but I'm like, I remember coming home and being like, you guys, you'll never believe what I did at camp. But it's like, I didn't have to say that because everyone knew.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, it was like going to the best camp in the world. That's literally what I thought of it. It was like playing a bunch of games for a month and making a bunch of new friends. Like I made a bunch of camp friends. And yeah, like I feel, you know, again, having a theater background and like having experience playing like the embarrassing games and the zip zap zop of it all, like it's like you learn how to handle those situations and like how to not be embarrassed when someone says like improv and you just like launch into something. It's like, I feel like I was so prepared for it because of dance and like having the background I do, because a lot of the girls were like, you know, the camera turns on and it's like this feeling of like, oh God, everyone's going to see this. But I'm like, everyone's going to see this, you know? So again, I think a lot of drag is just being delusionally self-confident and like, and just like accepting that like, you know, I don't know. I've kind of accepted that, like, no one cares. Like, at the end of the day, no one cares what you do. They do, but they don't. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And the people who really care what you do actually really just care what they're doing. And they're so concerned with what they're doing. They're like, let me talk about what you're doing so no one thinks about what I'm doing. That's what it feels like to me. So I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like I do a lot of stupid shit. And I used to have these thoughts of being like, everyone's going to remember this. And then I'm like, no one ever does. No one cares. Like, everyone's moving on. Everyone's in their own little bubble. Everyone's self-obsessed. And, like, that's good.
Right.
That's good. Obsess over yourself and let me do my thing, you know?
Yeah,
So, yeah, I had a great time on Drag Race because of that. Like, I feel like, for me, it was just, like, a silly, fun
Right.
time.
A romp.
Yeah, a romp around. Like, it really was. And I don't think that all of the queens had that exact same experience, but I also feel when you do well, it's easier to be like, that was so fun. Because it's like, obviously, I did well. You know, I on season 1, I won 2 challenges. I won 3 mini challenges. So it was like basically every episode, they were like, lemon. And I was like, yeah. You know? So I'm like, I don't think if I had different outcomes, I would probably have had a different experience.
Sure.
But like, I was like, they get me. So like, I was having fun.
That's amazing. And so, how much do you know before you go in terms of what the challenges will be? Do you have a sense of how do you know what to bring or what it might be, or is there?
They
any
give
prep?
you like clues. So they kind of tell you like, you might need something that a news reporter would wear.
Okay.
And it's like, that's all they'll say. So it's like, you kind of have to think like, you know, if you're smart, you're going to think ahead of like, okay, so I need to, you know, be ready for a challenge that's reading the weather, like whatever it'll be, you know. That challenge specifically turned out to be a teleprompter mini challenge where me and Priyanka were together as a team and we had to follow the teleprompter reading through English, French, and some gay language. And
So many
it was
questions.
crazy. I'll
Yeah.
tell you that much. Like it was, but it was like, again, I'm like, a lot of it really broke down to just being like silly acting, like improv kind of games. And those are like my favorite things. I always just found those so fun growing up. So it's like to now have that as my job is so, I don't know, like lucky. I said divine earlier, but that's really how it feels. Like it feels like the universe has led me to be exactly where I am. And like all of these things are like tailor-made to be like things that I enjoy already.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a lucky experience. But like, I also think sometimes if you're just like open to whatever is going to happen, that the universe will kind of reward you in that way. Maybe I'm just being a little woo-woo right now, but like I just believe in this stuff. So to me, it's like the world's going to keep doing its thing.
Right.
So it's like you got to just go with the world. 'Cause like you can't stop the beat. No, I knew you guys would get that joke, you little theater. No, but it really is. It's like you don't get to be in control.
Right. Yeah.
So you just have to like take control of the situation.
Right.
Because you don't really get to like decide anything, I feel.
Right. Well, but it's a conversation with the universe. Like if
Exactly.
it's telling you things or where to go or what you should do or could do, and you go, oh, I hear it, great.
And that's kind of, I feel like, been my whole like drag experience is like just kind of letting it happen, letting the world take me and like putting the work in and making myself proud in what I do.
Yeah.
But it's also just like, sometimes that's just the plan. And I had no say in it.
Well, you chose to take it. You took the crumbs that it was feeding.
Definitely. Like I stepped onto the escalator.
Yes. And it actually then moves. because
And
it's
then the
right
escalator took me where I needed to go. But, for me, it was just like, I don't know. It was just an experience, another experience.
Yeah.
I've done so many crazy things that it's like, oh yeah, I did that. But it's like, it just happens because you allow it to happen.
Right.
And you put the work in and you want something, you break down, okay, if I want to do this, I need to do this, this, and this.
Right.
It's like you do those 3 things and then it'll happen for you. Like it's just happened that way. Like, and a lot of things, I'm saying this like as a very positive outlook. A lot of things did not go my way at all.
Sure.
But it's like then afterwards, after they didn't go my way, I can like look back and think like, okay, that didn't go the way I wanted it to go, but it did go my way.
The way it was supposed to go.
The way it was supposed to go. And it's like to like accept that and, I don't know if everyone knows, but on UK versus the World, my second time on Drag Race, I did go home first. Absolute dead last.
Robbed. Here we have it. The reviews are in. Robbed. Yeah.
But it's like at the time, I was pissed because I was like, oh, this doesn't feel like what I wanted from this experience. But it's like as soon as it was over, like I kind of had this moment of being like, that was exactly what needed to happen.
Great.
Which is a crazy thing to say, but it was like that was exactly what I needed to happen. And it felt right, even though at the time I was like, this is the worst thing ever. But like again, it's just a cycle of shit goes one way and then it goes the other way, and you got to find yourself in the middle and stay like centered in that way, and it'll all work out in the end. And if it hasn't worked out, it's not the end.
Which is, listen, that keeps you breathing and moving and bouncing. She knows.
I mean, I got to do my makeup. No
Paint,
one
girl,
talk
paint.
to me again.
We'll meditate for a moment.
I was supposed to be done at the end of this. I'm just letting you all know it's probably not going to happen. I'll try my hardest, but just like,
You just do your thing.
just accept me.
This is a live experience, everyone. So what surprised you, good and bad, about the experience of Drag Race? What were the things that you thought, oh wow, and what things went, oh wow?
I mean, I think the most surprising thing is just like the audience reaction and like having fans and having like that support, that it's like, as a dancer, a lot of the time, like you kind of are like the background, like the supporting character and like whatever. You don't really get your moment of stardom, you know? And so I was always like pretty fine with that. I didn't need the, you know, the final bow. I didn't need all that. Like I didn't need to be the lead. I was totally happy. But it's like to kind of have the experience where I get that is really lovely, because it just makes you feel so like, you know, everything was worth it. Like everything that I did that felt hard or shitty or, you know, felt like wasn't finished, like at the end of the day, it did come to the way it needed to be. It's exactly the same thing I've just been saying. It's like the biggest surprise was just that like I was right. Like, oh yeah, I was actually right. You do just need to like follow your path and not doubt yourself and like and just like do what and just like do the thing. Just be silly and do the thing. Like it's not that deep.
Right.
I have a song coming out called It's Not That Deep.
Launching on...
I don't have a date.
All right.
But I do have the song. I'll play it for you. No, but no, I really think that's a great lesson to like have. It's just like, it's really never going to be that deep. Like, it's not that serious. It's all just temporary, and like, you gotta just have fun, and if you're not having fun, then it's like not for you. Like,
right.
You know, if you're not having fun, that's okay, but it's like then do something else where you're having fun.
Right.
Because it's actually really easy to have fun, and it feels nice. It's like a good time. I would recommend it. If you're ever like, this isn't fun, go do something fun. Like, I don't know.
But it's good advice. It seems simple.
It seems simple, but it's actually simple. Like, just. Just go do something fun. I don't know. I play a lot of Sims. Like I'm a Sims lover. And it's like sometimes your Sims, like, I'm not going to paint. I'm too depressed. And you just have to like let them watch TV for half an hour and then they'll paint. Like, and it's like, that's so real.
Yeah.
It's like, that's exactly how I feel sometimes. It's like, I'm too depressed to paint. And then I'm like, I'll watch TV for half an hour and I'm like, no, I'm good. It's like sometimes you just got to do something fun. Drag Race for me was so fun. So I had a good ass time when I was there, because it was like being silly with your friends and romping around and like whatever. The only time that's like horrible is like after being judged. But obviously no one wants to stand there and have the judges be like, you're ugly and your shit was gross and we all hate you. And your breath kind of smells. It's like, no, thank you, Brooklyn. You know what I mean? It's like, but other than that, it's like the rest was really fun. You know, but
Were there any parts backstage that you hated that were not so fun?
I like, again, I'm like, I think because of having like the dance background that I do, it's like I was prepared for the world that is Drag Race and that is like television.
Right.
A lot of girls hated certain things. Like they make you be quiet. And they say, when you're not on camera, they say hard ice, which means you can't talk at all.
Oh.
And it's like the girls would freak out and be like, why are they not letting us talk? And I'm like, because they're filming. Like, what do you mean? It's not because they hate us. Like, it's because there's people in the other room trying to record audio. Like, so it was like, to me, a lot of the things that the people didn't like were just things that I was like, yeah, I don't think anyone likes that. Like, they're not loving coming around and being like, shh. They don't love doing that.
Right, yeah.
But it's like, we're talking and they need us quiet. So what, you know? So a lot of the things were just like, I don't know. For me, they felt straightforward because I'm like used to the world of being shushed and used to the world of like, you know, oh, you can't do that right now, or you can't eat in your costume. It's like, yeah, obviously, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like some of the girls were like, I can do what I want. And it's like, well, no, like not right now. You can't.
Yeah. You're
like,
covered in peanut sauce now. Good luck.
Yeah, like, and you know, there's a continuity error because 5 seconds ago you didn't have mustard all over your face. Like,
and we've all been there, God knows.
Yeah. I love mustard. I do.
Well, it's your signature
best
color.
Best condiment.
Oh my God. How did your parents feel about you doing drag in your family?
It definitely was like rough at first.
Okay.
My parents are like so supportive now. And they were always very, very, very supportive of me being like queer and me being a dancer and like all of that. But there was something about drag and like specifically like doing drag that they were just like, dude, what the fuck? Like, they were like, we put you through years of dance. You did everything you wanted. We got you into a dance company. Well, I got myself into it. But they were like, you're in a dance company. Like, you have the dream job that we've been trying to get you since you were 10 years old, and you're going to throw it away to collect single dollar bills in a basement. And I was like, well, yes. Like, that's exactly what I want. But it was one of those things where it was like kind of hard to go against my parents because we've always kind of been in line. It's not, I wouldn't say that I've like done everything they said, but we've always kind of agreed on a lot of stuff, you know? So this was like one of the first things in my life where it was like, well, I hear what you're saying and I don't give a fuck. And I'm going to have to just do what I have to do because, like, I have to. Like,
Right.
It was just one of those constant battles where it was, like, my parents just being like, oh, well, don't do it. It's going to ruin your dance career. And me being like, that's kind of the point. Like, I don't know what else to tell you, you know? And I don't know. It was just difficult. But I think after my mom came to see me the first time in drag, she, like, watched the show, and like after the show she was like sobbing. My mom loves to cry. She's just like me. She was like sobbing, and she like, came up to me after, and she was like, I totally get it. And she was like, I did not understand like what you wanted from this. She's like, and then when I saw you perform and like saw you on the mic, and she's like, once I was there for it, she's like, now I totally get it. And she's like, and you have my blessing. And I was like, I didn't need it. I've been doing this for months. But yeah, it was she got it right away once she was there. But I do think that's, you know, a kind of apt, because I feel like the whole world kind of has this thing about what drag is, and even like what being trans is. Like, a lot of people just don't like it, and they have no real reason for not liking that. But when you don't know what something is, it can be really scary. You know, it's like if you're, you know, I can be in my bedroom and all the lights are off and I see a shadow and I'm like, what is that? And I'm like, that's a sweater I hung up. But it's terrifying me because I don't know what it is at that moment, right? It's like, trans people are just people. Like, they're just people. Drag queens are just people, just entertainers. And it's like, that should not be scary, but it's like, I part of me does feel bad because I'm like, I just don't think you get it, because you've never had to have that conversation. You've never talked to someone who's able to live their true authentic life. You've never had those conversations, and you've never really had to think about it, especially, you know, a lot of cisgendered straight people, like, you don't really have to question your sexuality or question your gender. But it's like, for trans people, that's all they've done since they were kids, you know? Even me, I'm not a trans person. I'm a cisgendered male. But it's like, I've always questioned if that was true or not. And even like doing drag, at the start of drag, I was like, is this still true? Like, you know, but it's like that questioning has allowed me to be who I am today, because it's like, I wasn't just doing what I thought the world wanted me to be doing. It's like, I just was doing what I wanted to be doing. And that's how I found myself. And it's like, I feel if we all had to experience that, which in some ways we all do, like, if we all really had to experience that and really were empathetic to other people who were going through that, I feel like the world would just be a lot better of a place. But at the same time, I really just think like fear is driving a lot of the hate. And like, that's sad, but grow up. Like, you know what? Grow up. Like, why are you afraid of the dark?
Why are you afraid of the dark? That's
Like,
a
grow
great,
up.
yeah.
There's really nothing else to it, because there's nothing, you know, Because I always also have this thing where I'm like, we just generalize, like humans love to just generalize people and put them all in one box, whether it's a religion or a race or a gender or a, all trans people are like, I'm like, no, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy to think that all of one type of person acts the same way. Like we've seen the opposite of that day to day. Like there are horrible, horrible, evil white people on this planet. Does that mean all white people are horrible and evil? Potentially. But it's yet to be proved. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, there are also a ton of...
I do. Yeah.
Like, don't we all? Like that, I just think it's crazy to generalize like that for anyone. Like, because it's stupid. It's really stupid to think that way. I actually don't have any qualms of saying that. It's very, very stupid to believe in the world in such linear ways. It's it's harder to think about things smartly, but like we have to, people. Like, please get it together. Because I'm just over the same I really am. I'm just over the same conversation of like, trans people I'm like, shut up. Bitch, shut up. Shut up. Trans people shouldn't play sports because they have a biological advantage. I'm like, Michael Phelps is 6'7". Would we not consider that a biological advantage? So he shouldn't be allowed to compete with the other dudes because he was taller? That's insane.
Right.
Now they're claiming there was a trans woman who just won a beauty pageant and people are up in arms. She has an advantage. I'm like, so now trans women have an advantage in beauty pageants too? This is insane.
How is that even possible?
You guys are just saying things like they have no meaning anymore and they have no real logic or thought behind them. They're just stupid things that people repeat over and over again and never question. And it's like that questioning is what takes us as a society further and further and further. And, sometimes you question things and you're like, oh, I was wrong. But that's okay. Like,
sure.
If
you can say I was wrong, then yes.
Which can we all?
Well, it's interesting. I was lucky enough to work with Alexandra Billings, the trans actress, who is amazing. And she had an interesting idea or a fascinating thought about the fear around trans people and that world, in that, like anything else, being gay or being trans, we're choosing this thing. You don't choose to be alienated from the rest of the world. No one chooses that. You have no choice. That is who you are. And the idea that when people follow through with that, when a trans person follows through with who they are as they transition, there's a fear. I will bastardize this. You can follow her. She's amazing. She's incredible. She talks about the idea of, and I'm paraphrasing this, that people fear, or almost a jealousy that trans people are so brave to live their true selves, and so many people don't live their true selves, whatever that is, and live in misery, and they cannot stand that trans people or anyone who gets to live themselves gets to be who they really are, and they cannot bear the honesty of it. And I think that's fascinating. If people looked at that, it would destroy them internally. But it could change the world. People just stopped and really just mind your business is really what it is.
Mind your business is the best piece of advice. Oh my God, if everyone could just mind their business.
And done.
Oh my God, global warming over. Like, God, what a concept. Mind your business. Like, why does it matter?
Yeah. And
why does it matter so much to you? Like, that's, that's always something that I come back to is like, why are you so upset? Why does it matter? Yeah. It's like if I wore a really ugly shirt and it's like all day, everyone's like, you have to take that shirt off. It's like, who cares?
Yeah. Why?
Who cares? I don't know. I just think it's funny that I'm like, if I had a nickname and I was like, oh, like, I don't like lemon, everyone call me Lem. It's like, generally, everyone would just be like, okay, Lem, like, and they would just be fine with that. But it's like, if I was like, oh, I want to be Heather now, it's like, oh, now there's a problem. Like, shut up. That's such a non-issue. Like, why does it affect you at all?
Right.
It doesn't is the answer. But again, it's fear, it's intimidation, it's like a ton of things. And I'm just happy to not involve myself with that on a regular basis, you know? Someone loves to shout things at me and I just say, okay,
Yeah.
okay. That pisses them off so much.
Right. Engage with me. Yeah. No.
Okay. You're a groomer. I'm like, okay. Like,
Yeah.
define that.
Right.
And they never can. You know?
Oh, I know.
I'm like, I wish some of you were better groomed. How about that?
Yeah. It's hard to beat the fabulousness of a drag queen with a comeback. Do you find yourself in? I mean, you do avoid. Have you faced a lot of backlash in your experiences?
I have been lucky. Again, also being a cis man, I feel like a lot of the hate is towards trans people.
Sure,
So
yeah.
I have been lucky in the fact that I haven't personally gotten the thing, but it's like it's still been around me because my community is queer and trans people. So it's like those words affect all of us. And, you know, there's like this small sect of like gay men specifically who are like, LGB without the T, like we're gay, but fuck trans people. And that to me is always like, they're coming for you too.
Yeah.
They don't like you either, actually. Like, that's so stupid to think like, because they're gonna fuck up shit for trans people, and then what do you think they're gonna do next? Throw you a party? Like, that's insane. It's like you know, that group of people are hateful toward all of us. They don't even want us to go see theater. Like, it's really that serious to them. Like, it's, you know, we've all watched The Handmaid's Tale. It's like, that shit's a reality. Like, that is not an obscenely in like fictional world. Mm-hmm. That's our world that we live in, and it's like we're 5 minutes away from that if you guys let the wrong people do the wrong shit. So, I don't know. It hasn't been something where I get the DMs or I get the things, but it's like it does affect me because it affects all of us like so profoundly. And like, you know, no one wants to see like their friends struggling or their friends going through something. And it's like those are my friends. Like trans people are my friends. So them suffering is me suffering because it's like it's suffering for all of us. Like as dramatic as that sounds, it really is that dramatic. Like, you know, if, you know, there's no like freedom and pride for one of us without it being for all of us. Like, it really is one of those things where it's like we have to be a team in this.
A community.
That's what pride is. Like, that's what the joining of the LGBTQIA2S plus community is. Like, it's because we are stronger in numbers and we like need not only us, we need like allies and we need, you know, just people to fight for us and with us and alongside us because we're going in cycles and we're right at the tip of a cycle that I do not want to go back into. We are right back in that same place we've been in before and like we've gotten out of it. So it's like, why are we going back to it? Because nothing bad happened last time. Some gays got married. It's like, woohoo. Like, they stay in their little areas. Don't worry.
Well, unless they're marrying you, then what's the problem?
But I'm like, if it gets that far, you know, you probably should have stopped things at the first date. Like, you know, there's that tweet that goes around every year that's like, if you don't like gay marriage, don't get gay married. And I'm like, that's so true. Like, that's what it comes down to. If it's not for you, don't do it. I really am so slow right now. I haven't done anything.
We have some questions from the audience.
Ooh.
We're going to. And of course, I'll just... Oh, there they are. Okay. We talked about this earlier. How did you pick lemon?
Oh, it was kind of a joke. So I told you the story, but I did a little competition. The first drag competition I ever did. And my drag name at that time for one evening was Gorgina George. Which I definitely think is really cute. But the announcer who was announcing me at the show was not incredibly literate. And so she grabbed the mic and she said, "Please welcome to the stage, George." And I'm like trying to get in my feminine mystique. I'm like trying to feel a femme fantasy, and all of a sudden I'm introduced as two men. So I'm like, huh. So I was like, this isn't right. So I had to, make a pivot. So I'm like, okay, I got to pick a name, and I wanted something that it's like, you can't pronounce that wrong. Do you know what I mean? And I wanted also a lot of my time at that time especially was like in a club where there's loud music playing, and it's like, that's where you meet people. And it's like, I hate when you're at a club and you're trying to tell someone your name and you like have to shout it. And they're like, what? And you shout it again. And they're like, wait, what? And then they shout it again. They say it wrong. And you're like, no. And then you have to do it. And it's like, this goes on for too long. And I'm like, I can't be doing that all night. I need something that is going to be like, I'm Cindy. And everyone's like, Cindy. Like, simple. So I was like, I want a one word, like pop star kind of name. And I want it to be something really like easily said, pronounced, like no problems. And so then I went to go see Sasha Velour's Nightgowns. Best show ever. If you ever get a chance to see Sasha Velour live, do it. It'll change your world. But anyways, after the show, I was talking about how like drag names, I love like one word drag names. And we were talking about how funny a drag name is when it makes no sense. And I was talking about Milk from season 6, 7, whatever. 5? 6? Oh, you're a stan. Period.
Thank you so much.
And we know our trivia winner already. But yeah, I was talking about how like funny that is, because I was like, it kind of gives you access to be anything. And so with Gorgina George, I did feel like I had to be gorgeous. It was like, if you're not pretty and you have that name, it's like, oh, that's not a look. Do you know what I mean? You can't be like, please welcome Gorgina and like, blah, 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 blah. Like, and I was like, so I was just nervous about that. So anyways, I said Lemon like kind of as a joke, but I immediately was like, oh, that's like such a cute name. Like it sounds like a celebrity baby name to me. But it also just, it's kind of like, I don't know, when I thought about someone like introducing like welcome to the stage Lemon, I just like couldn't picture what she would be. And I just thought that was so interesting, because it's like one day I could be like gorgeous and just do pretty girl drag. One day I could be super weird and come out bright yellow. One day I could be, I just thought it was like one of those things where it kind of gave me access to everything, rather than like putting me in my own little like box. And yeah, I just thought it was such a cute name. Like, I don't know, like, just like hear it for a second. Like, Lemon. Isn't that so cute? Like if someone, I don't know, when I was getting my dog, I was like saying names out loud a lot, because I was like trying to see like what's the best name to call him with.
Always. Yeah.
And I feel like I did that with drag too, because it's like I just wanted to like have a name that like sounds good out loud. My dog's name is Louie. Apparently I like 5-letter words that start with L.
I see a theme.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I just thought it was so cute. I don't really know like what the conversation was leading up to Lemon specifically. I just remembered being like, I said it out loud and being like, oh, that's it. That's so cute. And I was saying to my friends, like, what if and they were all like, we don't care. Just pick a name.
Is that what you're called? What's your name?
At that point, I was like, you've been talking about this for hours. Like, no one cares. We do not give a fuck. Are you even going to do drag? Turns out, yes.
Barely.
Yeah, turns out.
And she's a tart. See? Lemon, tart. No. Okay. I wouldn't read this only because, but I'm going to, because it's pertinent-ish in terms of what we're talking about. It's a question about lacage, actually. Did you have consultants for the drag world working on the show? And yes, we did. Justin Miller, who is Pearl Harbor, is her drag name, was our drag consultant on the show. Yes.
God, I love drag queens.
It's spectacular, and Justin spectacular, Pearl Harbor spectacular. But yes, who did consult with our drag queens and with us, and so we had someone on board for that. So, Lemon, we
consulted with Pearl Harbor, like that is a crazy sentence.
Thank God the show didn't bomb. You're welcome, Canada.
Oh my God.
Lemon, what's your drag inspiration, and who are your inspirations for drag?
I personally feel like Lemon is like just the girl.
Yeah.
It's like, when you see a group of girls, but you're like, she's the girl.
Yes, right.
It's like Lemon to me is just, she's the girl. Do you know? I feel like a lot of the early inspiration was like very Rihanna, very, you know, like I was living in New York and loved the culture and like definitely was involved in the culture. And I feel like that New York style drag definitely played a big role in like what I liked to wear and what I liked to perform in, because the girls in Toronto do drag so differently than they do drag in New York City. In New York, it's very much like you put on your look for the evening and you stay in that outfit and you host the show and they give you the mic and you're talking the whole night. You do maybe 2, maybe 3 numbers, and it's like the majority of the show is supposed to be like mic work and entertaining, hosting. Whereas in Toronto, the girls don't really grab the mic and they go on for 11 hours. And it's just cycling through, and every single time you see them on stage, they have a brand new wig and a brand new outfit. And I'm like, bitch, how'd you change that fast? Because I wasn't doing all that.
Right.
I was giving one wig all night, but it was a good wig. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, I feel like, you know, I would personally still rather one good wig than 7 other wigs.
With the less good implied, yes.
But, you know, I do feel that entertainment factor of like brand new outfits and like, is very enjoyable. You know what I mean? And the Toronto drag queens are the best dancers in drag, I'd say, in the world.
Wow.
Like no one puts on a show like a Toronto queen because they are forced to do it. You know what I mean? The New York girls get tired after 3 minutes. Those Toronto girls will be dancing for 26.
Wow.
Like, they go off.
Hardcore.
Truly.
So the third girl just went on for the show, just so we know. Time check.
No, it's okay. I'm done.
You there. Where do you source clothes and especially shoes? Are there what? Swap sources? Oh, swap sources in the drag community. Right. So, yeah, that's a good question, actually.
I mostly get things custom made. So I will go to designers, and usually most of the time I will design like what I want and say exactly how I want it cut and how I want it to, you know, whatever. But I do wear just a lot of like cute little things, you know? So this little dress is from an online store that I just loved. Mm-hmm. I saw a girl on Pinterest in this dress and I was like, I want that dress. And so I was like, should I get someone to remake the same style? But then I'm also like, why would I do that when it exists already? So yeah, if something already like exists, I feel like I'm the kind of person where I'm like, we'll just get that one then.
Sure, yeah.
But if I have like a vision in my head of like, oh, I want it to be like this, and I want, you know, a big train, and I want this, and I want that, like then I kind of have to just get it made for me.
Right.
Which is like what most of the girls do after Drag Race, especially. I feel like before you get on Drag Race is kind of more, you just kind of wear what you can. Like I was definitely giving Fashion Nova, Forever 21. Like I was not giving drag. I was definitely just wearing little garments. But I feel like that has helped because it's like now I've learned how to style things that maybe aren't phenomenal drag and learned how to make them still like cute, you know, at least to me. So that's definitely been helpful in some ways. But yeah, there are a lot of drag queens that will just like trade stuff. I'm the kind of girl where I'm like, if I do a show with someone and she's like, oh, I love that dress, I'm like, here. So I'm like, that's a lot of stuff is like that too, where I'll say, oh my God, that's so gorgeous. And they're just like, yeah, take it. Like, so I don't know. It very much is like community. Like the girls ride for each other for sure.
Right.
So they're not an official like setup for it, but
an online little drag store of
but we all do it. Like we all are just giving our things away, and you know, no one wants to be an outfit repeater, but at the same time, like you have to be smart at, like, you can't just throw away money, and drag costumes are very, very expensive, especially custom ones. So yeah, the amount of money I've spent on costumes and hair and stuff is crazy, but it all feels worth it to me because it's like, it's my vision of like what I want to look like and what I feel like Lemon would need to be herself.
Yes. Do you repurpose stuff?
I do in a lot of ways. Yes. I a lot of the things I get made are like head to toe full custom matching like garments. So it doesn't really make sense to like repurpose sometimes because it's like, you know, a green zebra print head to toe look. It's like, what else are you gonna do? Like, you know, you can't just wear the glove of it. And be like,
Magic.
yeah, and a lot of the a lot of fans are a little crazy, and they love to like point out things like that, like, oh,
Yes.
you wore that again, and I'm like,
How dare
so
you?
yeah, so I avoid it as much as possible, just because I'm like, you know,
The
trying
diehards.
to please 11-year-old girls.
Yeah. Yes, of course. Question here. How and when did you learn that you can rap? Nice.
I can rap.
Surprise.
No, well, okay. So you were asking earlier about like prepping for the show. And that's just something that like I feel like all drag queens now, we like all do it. It's like you all kind of plan ahead of like, if I was ever on Drag Race, I would do a verse like this. And you like kind of plan like, I would talk about this and I don't like when the girls do that, so I'm gonna do this. It's like, I don't know. Drag queens just love to be like, I'm the best thing that's ever lived. But yeah, I've had the same thing of like hearing all those like famous verses and like loving them. And then thinking like, oh, God, what would I do if I was ever on the show? If I was ever on Drag Race? And yeah, I don't know. So I had always like had an interest in music. I was a tap dancer, so I feel like the rhythm and that kind of stuff was definitely like trained as well. But actually, Princess Poppy from season 15.
Well done, you. Wow.
Princess Poppy from season 15. She and I are very close friends, and when she lived in New York, we like had a moment together where we were just joking, but we were like, let's write an album. But we were like just joking, like we weren't ever gonna do anything with it. We were just like, it would be so fun if we wrote an album. And we had these like tracks, so we were like, let's write music. So we wrote this whole like album, which is so bad it'll never see the day of light. The light of day. It'll never see the day of light. Will any of us? Anyways. I don't know, because it doesn't exist. Anyways, but yeah, so we wrote a whole album, and on that album, I was like, kind of like, I just was like, oh, this is actually really fun. Like, I love writing music. And Poppy was making fun of me because she was like, you're so good at this. But I was like, I don't think so. It's just not hard to find words that rhyme. And she was like, it actually is. And I was like, no, it's not. Like, you know, cat rhymes with shat. Like, it's like we should all...
A natural pairing.
It's like we should all know that. Like, you know? I don't know. So I don't know. It just is like... makes sense to me. Like, I don't know. And again, I'm like, it comes back to like following the universe. Because I did not ever think like I'm going to be the Drag Race rapper. But it's like now apparently I am. And I get DMs from girls that are like the biggest Drag Race stars being like, hey, can you help me with this? And I'm like, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I can. Like, I can. So it's like, I don't know. I guess... I still haven't fully realized that I can rap, right. But it's just comes easy to me. I feel like I talk so much that it just makes sense to then do it to music.
Right.
And I can't sing, so it's like I have no other option.
New track coming out to be determined, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Next month.
Do you have a drag family, and how did you find them when you started drag?
I do have a drag mother. She is the best drag queen in the world. Her name is Jasmine Royce LaBeija from New York City.
Oh, wow.
She is one of the queens of the House of LaBeija, which is a very, very famous ballroom house. She's also was top 5 Miss Continental Plus. She was top 3 regular Miss Continental. And her words came to me after she did Miss Continental Plus. And she said, I don't want to compete with those fat bitches anymore. And so she decided to compete at regular Miss Continental as a plus-size girl, and that's like doesn't really happen. And the girls can be very mean to the plus-size girls in the pageant world, especially. And she not only won interview, but she also won swimsuit.
Fantastic. Awesome.
Yeah, so she's just the baddest bitch ever. She hosts in New York City. She's like a legend, and she's just one of those. She's also a Juilliard trained opera singer. She's just like the most incredible drag performer I've ever seen, and she is honestly part of the reason I feel like I was so obsessed with doing drag in New York, because I saw her perform and I was so in awe and just thought like, God, the way she commands like a space is just magical. Like she can make everyone just look at her. And I was like, that is so incredible. And I don't know that I felt that when I was a dancer. Like, I don't know if I felt that I had that ability. Mm-hmm. So it was like to see someone else do that was just so inspiring. And the first time I ever saw her, actually, she was wearing the coat that I entered the workroom in on Canada's Drag Race Season 1, my big yellow coat. That was actually hers, and she gave it to me for free.
Nice.
And
thanks, Mom.
Yeah, she's my mother, and I'm so thankful for her. And yeah, this is also her word, so don't cancel me, but the reason she wanted me as her daughter, she came up to me and she said, you're not Asian, but you are yellow. And I was like, Jasmine, you can't say that. And she was like, no, you can't say that. I did anyways, turns out. But she's just so funny, and she's so charismatic, and she's just like, I don't know. I loved the idea that like drag can be anything. I still do. And I think it's so cool to see someone who's been able to like have success in so many different areas of drag. I just thought that was so incredible and such an inspiring way to be, rather than, just focusing all your energy on one thing. It was cool that she does pageant, she does ballroom, she does regular New York hosting, she just does everything. And I wanted to be like that, and I wanted to have that ability. So it was like a perfect fit that she was my drag mom. And I do have like tons of like, we're part of a house of drag called the Kardashians. Run by Keisha Carr, who's another incredible New York City legend. Used to do her Book of Mormon shows on Broadway and then go to the bar after and perform a drag show.
Oh my God.
Baddest bitch in the world. Like, so cool. And yeah, so that's Jasmine's mother. But a lot of like the official drag families, like, I don't feel like that's necessarily all your drag family, because I also would consider like Poppy, I would consider my best friend Skywalker, even though they're not technically like related in that drag family way. It's like they're still sisters. Right. And it's like after the show too, after Drag Race, I do feel like those are my sisters too, because again, it's like another thing. But I have found in my life that like queer people are so good at making community and are so good at like creating little friendships and like holding on to them. And I've been very blessed to have that. So I feel, yes, Jasmine is my mother, but I'm like, I feel like I've learned drag from everyone and learned new things from every person. And one great thing about art is that you're never done learning. So it's like, who knows who the next person will be that teaches me a trick that I use forever, It's so, yeah, Jasmine has really skyrocketed my ability in drag. Like, she's helped me, she taught me everything, like in terms of like how to be good at drag. Right. But, there's secrets in family like everywhere. There's just love in drag, and there's like friendship in it. And, you see another queen, like, it's just like, oh, me and you. Oh, we're together. We both do this. Oh, aren't tights uncomfortable? It's like we just have so many things to be together with already. So yeah, I have a lot of drag family, but I don't know that I have like official drag family outside of that.
Right. Fantastic. What are some of your comedic influences? And we'll be bringing back Jojo Siwa.
Oh my God. I do love like comedy. I watch like any stand-up comedy that comes on. I watch like every scripted comedy show. I just love them. But I don't know. I feel like part of me has always just wanted to be like an entertainer, and I've always wanted people to like leave my presence feeling like happier and like more, I don't know, like I just have always thought of myself in that way. And so I do feel like a lot of my comedy is just like circling in the back of my brain. Like I don't really think to I want to tell jokes like this person or like this person. It's just like how it comes out of me.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I just think I have an overactive imagination. I think that's the truth, and it leads me more than I lead it.
Oh, that's great. Oh, interesting. So where would you like the universe to take you next? More TV, a Vegas residency, marry rich? Well done.
Well, definitely the latter.
Clearly.
Well, my dream is to find a man who's rich enough that like he pays for the life things and I just pay for fun things.
Nice.
Do you know what I mean? Like he gets the rent, he gets the car, he gets the stuff, and I'm like, I'll get us all shoes. I'll buy my dog clothes. It's like I feel like that's my end goal for sure. But I don't know. I have been working on some TV things. As I said, I love scripted comedy, and I have a dream of one day writing and potentially starring on a scripted comedy show about drag, because I feel we see so much drag in the form of reality. And I'm like, drag is a fantasy. We should stop looking at this as a real thing. Like, this is not reality. You know what I mean? I'm like, I want to see drag queens in like these insanely lavish, crazy situations, And I feel that drag queens already have such a craziness about them that to see them in situations like just has such comedy gold behind it. But so I've been working on that a bit and trying to pitch some things like that, and that's been going very well. So who knows what'll happen in the future. A Vegas residency sounds amazing too. I have seen Drag Race live in Vegas 2 times and loved it. It's such a fun show. So if they ever wanted a Canadian to join that, I think I would do that too. But I don't know. I think for me, it's just like whatever is like fun to do at the time. I know that's horrible, but it's like, isn't that what life is? Like, I don't want to not have fun. I just want to have fun. I'm a girl and I just want to have fun.
Speaking of Cindy, curious about the scenes on Drag Race where everyone is doing makeup and having heart-to-heart discussions. Are those discussion topics coming up naturally? Is it a producer asking you to discuss it that day?
It's definitely both. Like, again, drag queens, we're going to talk.
Right.
Even if there was no such thing as a producer, someone would be crying. I can tell you that much. I can tell you that for sure. But again, it is a TV show, and they do want to have those moments. So they're sometimes influenced, but at the same time, I don't think they're like holding anyone at gunpoint to be like, ask this question. Like, it's more like, hey, we'd love to talk about this today if you can bring it up, but it's like, we're all entertainers. We all know how to do that. So it's not like impossible to like make it happen, I guess, is the way to put it.
The last performer's on right now.
Oh my God.
So we have about 3 minutes, but
I'll do a lip quickly.
Sure. And then we'll do a little bit. In the meantime,
I'm lying actually.
What did Drag Race miss about performers in Canada? What do they miss about what the reality is?
Ooh.
I think is the question, I believe.
I think that's a great question, but I do feel like one thing I loved about Canada's Drag Race, especially season 1, was like, I feel like the queens really were so diverse in that like every queen is so uniquely themselves. Like, even just from the promo, like we got a lot of flack for like us not matching.
Oh.
Like people said like our theme made no sense to them, which I was like, it doesn't have to.
Right.
But we got a lot of like messages about that. because people were trying to say, like, you know, you guys should all have the same color scheme. And I was like, but what I loved about our promo is that, like, everyone just kind of did their own drag.
Right.
And it was so clear. And it's like, when I look at the photo now, it's like, you know, I'm in, like, this little, like, princess costume. And I'm like, that's me. You know, Tainomi is this, like, beautiful, like, black goddess. And she just looks so royal. And, like, that's Tainomi, you know? Priyanka has her beautiful, like, Desi gown on. And it's like, that's just, it's so special to see everyone being able to, like, represent themselves in that way. And you know, Boa is in, like, this campy, like, hockey costume. And I'm like, that's so her sense of humor. That's, you know, it's so I felt what I love about Canadian drag is that, like, there is no, like, formula. There's no one way to be doing everything. And there's no, like, if you do this, you'll be successful. It doesn't work like that. It's like drag is nice because you really just have to find your own, like, avenue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As hard as it is. And now I'm done.
Wow. Amazing.
I'll glue a lash on in a minute. Don't worry.
Yeah. Last question. What advice would you give to up-and-coming drag queens, or is anyone interested in pursuing?
I think just be sure that this is, like, something that you want to do, because it's really hard. Very, very hard to make a name for yourself, and it's very hard to, like, find an avenue that you're going to be, like, different, because I feel like there's so much drag that it's hard to make a name for yourself, because it's like, oh, well, she does that too, you know? And a lot of people want you to be, like, this unique, you know, never been done before, kind of crazy, show-stopping period. It's like they want that. They want you to be the only one that's ever lived who's like you. And it's like, that's crazy. It'll never happen. But you do want to be able to sell yourself in that way. You do want to be able to say, like, well, no one can do this like me. No one can this like me. No one can that like me. And yeah, just make sure that that's something that you have, like, a passion for, because it's not going to be like, I think a lot of people see drag and think, like, oh, that looks easy. Like, and I'm like, bitch, this is the hardest job in the world, because you're not just dealing with an audience, you're dealing with a typically drunk audience of a lot of gay people who have strong opinions. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's one thing to it's one thing to have, like, a polite audience, but I'm like, I've seen some rowdy ass drunk, like, people who are so rude and evil, and I just have to be like, do you guys want another number? And they're like, no. No, we all obviously just want to dance. But you're like, oh, well, I got hired to do another number, so I'm going to do it. Yeah, so I don't know. I would just say, like, do that. Make sure your heart's in it, because it's going to be a, like, rough time. But also, like, drag is supposed to be silly and it's supposed to be fun. And it's supposed to have, like, it's supposed to be, like, queer representation. It's supposed to be all of those things. So I'm like, if you feel that you have something to say, then you should say it. Like, and that's not just drag, I guess. That's just, like, being alive. Like, if you feel like you need to say something, like, I promise you, say it. And if there are consequences to you saying the thing that you knew in your heart that you had to say, it's like, those are consequences you probably should pay. Like, it's okay. Because it's like, your heart told you to do it. You know what I mean? It's okay. And not all consequences mean, like, bad consequences in a way. Sometimes it just means, like, a new direction.
Nice.
You know?
Yes.
Give it up for New Directions, the Glee Club.
New Directions, the conclusion. Thank you, Lemon. Absolutely fantastic. We'll just do last little bits here and give Lemon some love. I mean, thank you for being with us today. That was spectacular.
Thank you. I'm going to glue on an eyelash and put my wig on.
Yes. The little bits.
Because I'm almost there.
Do you want to come chat? Yeah.
I'll wrap things up then while you do that. Yeah, awesome. Hey, everybody, did you have fun? Fun was definitely the word of the day. Oh my gosh. Well, you were all so wonderful. Yes, a big round of applause for the Forum team. Thank you for this. And then to Thom Allison, our lovely moderator. And Lemon! Go have a gay day.
Thank you for listening. This event was recorded as part of the Meighen Forum in front of a live audience in Lazaridis Hall at the Tom Patterson Theatre in Stratford, Ontario, Canada. Be sure to subscribe to keep up with the lively conversations and original performances housed by the Stratford Festival's streaming service, Stratfest at Home. And for making it this far in the episode, we're going to give you a gift. Enjoy 1 month free on Stratfest at Home with promo code FREEMONTH. Visit stratfestathome.ca and enter code FREEMONTH to enjoy 1 month of free streaming content. It takes you, our listeners, to make this possible. It also takes the support of our dear collaborator. Support for the Meighen Forum is generously provided by Kelly and Michael Meighen and the T.R. Meighen Family Foundation. Original score for the Everyday Forum podcast was provided by Hilary Adams. Production support is provided by the film production and distribution team at the Stratford Festival. That is manager Yash Chabria, film editor Chris von Kleist, and director Jenna Dixon. The Meighen Forum team is producing assistants Renata Hansen and James Hyatt, coordinator Mira Henderson, manager Gregory McLaughlin, and director Julie Miles. Special thanks to Michael Adams, Jennifer Lee, Greg Doherty, Harper Charlton, and Kendallin Bishop. Finally, thanks to artistic director Anthony Cimolino and executive director Anita Gaffney. From here in Stratford, Ontario, on the land of the Neutrals and the Anishinaabe, see you next time. Ba Ma Pi.